Thank you for joining us for another session of The Voices of a Black Man. My name is CK James, and I have the pleasure today to have a conversation with John Okafo. Today, we're talking with John about his story through his lens. John, how are you doing today?
Hey Ken, I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for taking time out to have this conversation with me today. Tell us, why did you feel it was important to tell your story through your lens?
Sure. I think for a long time I've been growing up in a place where communication wasn't a primary way of expressing ourselves. It was more so through action. It was more so through energy. And I value communication. I value talking. I value sharing different perspectives and understanding each other, rather than being combative, or pointing out differences rather than finding where we connect. So today, that's why I wanted to share my story, to give a piece of myself to anybody who is willing to listen.
Well, we're happy to have you today, and I'm just going to jump right in.
Awesome.
So, if you could tell us, where are you from? How'd you grow up? Just a little bit about John as a young man.
Yes. I grew up in Durham, North Carolina, where I was born and raised, and still here today. I went through Oak Grove Elementary School, Neal Middle School, and Southern High School, and graduated to attend NC State University to go after my bachelor's degree in business administration. Um, Growing up, it was pretty rough early on. There were so many things I didn't understand about the life that I lived. I was a happy-go-lucky kid, very different from how I am now. But over time, I started to learn more about the world around me and who I was growing up with, the people I called friends, new people that I called family, and school was a major part of my life, and I dedicated myself to my academics. I was straight A student all the way through, from elementary school to high school. I set unprecedented records in my schools at that time, top of my class, and I always poured myself into school and the people around me. Eventually, once I attended college, I was kind of on my own. I was kind of alone in that sense of like, this is my journey, this is my life. I get to decide my destiny from this point forward. It's not just about what my parents and teachers are telling me, what I need to do, where I should go. It was really all up to me at that point. So that's why I made the decision to actually leave school to start my career as an artist, start my career as a photographer. And I started that career while I was in college, basically offering my services to different clients and customers I would find along the way. And my passion for it grew tremendously, to the point where I felt like I could express myself in a deeper, more powerful way through my photography, even more so than my words. But
Mhm.
yeah, majority of my life has been spent finding myself and sharing myself with others, helping others along the way. That's kind of where why I'm here today. This is the same reason I'm doing this with you. So that's where I've been. That's how I grew up. That's me.
Wow. So, as we talk about you finding yourself and trying to figure out your place in the world, let's talk about you as a little boy first. So, John, as a little boy, what were the things that you liked, the things that you wondered, the things that you kind of disliked? What was happening with him?
Mm. I was like I said, I was a happy-go-lucky kid. I was very curious. I was very open to new things. I was, not very picky on what food I ate. Anytime, like I was introduced to things like sushi early on, and I fell in love with that, and stuff like that. I was really open to different forms of media, movies, film, cartoons. I was all over the place with that. I could recite SpongeBob lines. Apparently, that's something my mom always reminded me of, and I was like, you know what? It's crazy. I still can to this day. But that was always been a part of me. Growing up, I was just very animated, and looking at the world in that sense, that kind of led me to be more of the creative person that I am today. I was always drawing, I was always singing, dancing, which became a part of me as a passion later on. As I grew up, yeah, that's been me as a kid. I was always open to new things, creative things, artistic things, for sure.
Mm. So let's talk about, you talked about dancing, being creative, photography. A lot of these things aren't really considered to be masculine,
Right.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Let's talk about masculinity and how do you define masculinity for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. That was always a struggle for me as an individual personally. I think the people I grew up around, my friends, um, they all came from a rougher neighborhood. They all came from rougher backgrounds than I. I would I live in a place where you consider the suburbs, and for them, they grew up in a place that was, below the poverty line, to put it in better terms. For them, life was much different for me. And looking at how they grew up and what they needed to learn how to do and how they needed to learn how to act to survive, that always clashed with me and my background and how I view the world. So yeah, this sense of masculinity was always being challenged or threatened with them. So it was much more important for them to get that same energy back from other men, from other guys
Mm.
that were around them. That kind of made them feel safer. That made them feel, like they were in the best place for them. And as far as creativity is concerned, yeah, that is not seen as masculine in the area that I grew up in. It's like, oh, you
Mhm.
like girl stuff, you like dancing, you like singing, you like drawing. So it was always harder for me to connect with other guys, more so when I was younger. That changed
Mhm.
over time.
Mhm.
That really, I changed that over time. I was able to communicate better. I was able to connect better through other means rather than just, hey guys, you don't have to bully me, you don't have to talk down on me. It wasn't even about that. It was more so like a respect that I
Mhm.
received later on. And I don't know, maybe that was more so a maturity thing, but I will say earlier on, it was much tougher to
Yeah.
connect with other guys because of that.
Yeah.
Um, Not being an athlete, not ready to fight at the slightest, disagreement. That's kind of
Yeah.
the environment I grew up in. And it's amazing to me that I was able to still survive in that
Uh-huh.
space, being the way I am in comparison. So yeah, that's always been a struggle.
So, what did it teach you though? What did you learn or lessons learned from? And some of that does have to do with being younger, right, and understanding things and the way other people grow up. That men are supposed to do this and girls do this. When in actuality, that's not always the case. It doesn't make you not a man or not a girl if you're interested in other things. So, as you went through and kind of gone through that process and got to a place where you're like, hey, this is just who I am, you know, there's nothing wrong with me because I like to dance and because I like photography or the creative side of things. What lessons have you learned through that?
Oh man, that we only have one life to live. Number one, and we don't choose how we grow up. We don't choose what our interests are. They kind of find us, and they make us who we are as people. And I think, to quote somebody that is near and dear to my heart, you have to lean into it rather than fighting against it. And I feel like the more I leaned into what my heart was telling me that I loved and I cared about, the better it was for people to understand that and respect that rather than fight back, or defend themselves and how they see what a man should be or what a man should care about. So yeah, I think leaning into it, trusting it more, and accepting it. Really, that was the best lesson I learned, is how to accept myself. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're leaning in now. In the leaning in, I'm going to ask you a question that may
Mm-hmm.
sound crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a question that I ask every one of our guest speakers that come on is, at what point did you realize that you weren't just a young man, but you were Black? And what did that mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was a very distinct moment for me that kind of set it all in stone,
Mm-hmm.
as far as what that meant. I had an idea growing up, you know, when I was in the fifth grade. This was probably my first uh, understanding of what it means to be Black. It was a weird interaction I had with my teacher actually at the time. Um, a very odd story, but we were playing with, I think it was like Legos or like different characters, different toys or whatever, right? And I remember I made a comment. Now I'm just a kid. I remember I made a comment, and I was like, I don't see any pieces that look like me. I don't see any, people or characters that look like me. And then we started, finding different toys and finding different things. And then we were like, you know what, we can make some characters. Let's make our own characters. Let's draw out little paper, little cutouts and just like draw ourselves and then use those as toys. I was like, yeah, let's do that because I can connect with that more. And then I made a comment to one of my friends. This was my friend Erin, I believe her name was. She was a white girl. And I said, Aaron, I think you should, find like we don't have any colors in the crayon box that fit your skin tone. We need to find one for you.
Mm.
Now, I was a kid. I don't know where this was all coming from, but for some reason, this mattered to me. So I was communicating that. And then it shocked me because the girl started crying and I didn't understand why. After I made that comment of saying, we need to find a piece or make a character that looks like you, she started crying. And I was shocked. I was like, what did I say? What did I do? What happened? And then the teacher calls me up in front of the class and kind of makes a scene, uses me as an example. And she says, don't ever say like that. Don't ever say anything like that again. And I guess she overheard the conversation because she immediately reacted in a way that was like, maybe she took offense to what I said. But I'm just a kid. I was like 10 years old. So for me to have to, be faced with that kind of, I don't know, frustration, anger, at that early of an age, that was kind of shocking to me because of what the topic was at the time. And I thought I was doing something right. I thought I was, trying to be more helpful in that case, but apparently I was being offensive in some ways. But that was my first occurrence with it. That was my first interaction. Now, the second time, this is what really did it for me, was when I learned about the Trayvon Martin case. I remember learning about it in class. I remember watching it on the news. I remember feeling confused, upset, like this wasn't fair. I remember, the verdict. I remember what that meant and what was going on. I remember learning about all these different things about politics and law that I had no idea about before because of this one case. For somebody that was my age at the time, and he looked like me, and that happened to him, and no justice was served. That kind of let me know who I am and where I am in the world. Kind of gave me a better sense of that. Yeah.
So what does that mean for you when you say who I am and where I am in the world? What does that exactly mean?
It means that, my perspective of how I view humans, people, that is not a universal perspective. It means that some people see me differently because of how I look. And there are certain stereotypes that go along with that, that people act upon or judge me upon or treat me based on. And it's nothing I can control. Before I even step into a room, they could see me through the glass and say, uh-oh, here he comes. And that feeling that I can't even, protect myself or defend myself based on my own appearance. I can't even speak for myself. I can't even, present who I am as a person first before people are already judging me based on how I look, the color of my skin. That is kind of like a constant reminder, no matter where I go, that's always in the back of my mind. based on that one event and many, many others after that I've, learned about that were ended up in the same way.
Yeah. Have you ever had an encounter of injustice?
Brief moments, thank God. Brief moments. Nothing too traumatizing, I would say, but hints here and there. I remember one year I was working with my mother on a summer camp. We had a summer camp that we were hosting for kids in the area. I attended a summer camp one year, and I was like, Mom, we can do one. We can do our own. So we hosted this little summer camp, and it was in a complex of different businesses and buildings. It was like one long building. So we went along the side, me and my friend, he was helping me at the time, and my little brother. We go along the side of the building just to take some trash out. And then we were like, you know what, guys, it's a pretty day outside. Let's take some pictures. Let's dance. Let's do something. Let's do something fun. And then apparently, I guess there was like a camera, like a security camera outside the building. And somebody was called. The police were called. Somebody called the police on us because they didn't know who we were, I guess. They just saw the security cameras and was like, well, we got some guys out here. So we encountered the police. And before we could even say a word, he was already, kind of threatening us. He was already kind of coming with the energy of not trying to communicate rather than dictate where we needed to go and what we needed to do. So it was hard for us to even try to explain what we were even doing in that area. Like, yeah, we have a summer camp here. We're a part of this area. We're part of this community. We're not just strangers. But before we could even explain that, he's already telling us, don't say nothing, boy. You're calling us boy. He doesn't even ask our names. Doesn't ask where we're going, what we're doing. He's just already kind of coming with this energy of trying to, I don't know. So that always was a fearful thing when it comes to the police force and trying to just have a common communication, find common ground with them has always been a struggle for me in particular. I don't know if that's the case for everybody that looks like me, but I know for a fact that I've seen it, I've experienced it, and that's just a part of my story. So
it sounds like that particular incident in itself goes back to what you said right before that, is when people see you before they even get a chance to hear you, talk to you, know you, anything, they've already formed whatever the opinion is. So I'm going to ask you this. You're here today to be seen and heard. Who is John Okafo?
John Okafo is, he's a young man that, wants to find a deeper meaning between what it means to be Black in America. He wants to open up the dialogue. He wants to start conversations. He wants to find common ground, commonality between people of all creeds and colors. That's always been one of my missions in life. It's been hard to commit to that based on my environment, my surroundings, my upbringing. It's always been hard to find my voice as far as how to start those conversations because it's important. It's important to me. It's important to millions of other people in this country. But that's not the main thing for me. It's not the only thing. It's just like based on your show and how you've presented this, I just so happen to be Black. But even so, there's a deeper purpose behind that, beyond anything I could have imagined, beyond anything I could have understood at a young age up until now. There's so many other things deeper for what it means to be Black. Outside of that, like I said, I'm a young man. I'm creative. I'm an artist. I'm a brother. I'm a chef. I'm a dancer. I'm a writer. I'm a photographer. I wear so many different hats, meet so many different people based on those hats, based on those activities. And just, I kind of find deeper connections with individuals that, resonate with anything that I speak on, anything that I say. And I just try to find ways to, make their lives easier, make their lives better. I'm always trying to find ways to help other people around me, just to better everyone's lives. That's me.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Um, Thank you for being you. Definitely. Thank you for being you. So, and sharing who you are in your heart. So, when we think about just being you, let's talk family dynamics. What does that word mean to you?
Family dynamics. This is something very, very near and dear to me right now. This is something I've been growing through. Like I said, at a young age, I was, happy-go-lucky, open to new things. But that wasn't mainly because of my family. I had a very small family, actually. So for me, it was more so like I felt kind of isolated at times because there wasn't many people I could connect with in my immediate family, in my household. My dad was always working. He was always at work. So when I would talk with him, when I would see him, is when he's coming from work, tired. He's driving long hours. He used to deliver medication to different hospitals across the not across the country, across the state. So it was hard for me to build a deeper relationship with him at a young age. My mom was around a lot, but more so in the sense of how do I put this? She was always very active in her life. So she had many friends, many opportunities that she got herself into, and I was kind of like brought along rather than me having opportunities and then the spotlight's on me. The spotlight was always more so on my mother growing up. So for me, it was up to me to create my own sense of like happiness, sense of who I am, and that's kind of why I was so open to so many different things. Because I wanted to learn more about Jonathan. I wanted to learn more about who I am as a person. So as a you know young Black man growing up in a family in the suburbs, there wasn't many opportunities for that. But my family, in and of itself, over time, right, and this is where the dynamics come in. Over time, we started to grow together more and learn more about each other and what we wanted as individuals and how we can find ways to bring that together as a family, even though our family was very tight. Yeah.
Mhm. Wow. So when you talk about over time learning those things and you think about moving forward in family dynamics as you go out and continue to, and I'm not marrying you off. I'm not doing that quite yet because I know you're a young man. But as you look towards having a family one day, what are some of those dynamics that you take from what you've learned so far that you say these have to be a must as I move forward into my family?
Um, Most of what I learned about family came from my brother. Most of what I learned about family came from my brother. When we were younger, big brother, little brother, starting up little spats, little arguments here and there. Oh, he took my toy, or he won't let me play the game. Over time, I realized, that wasn't us. That wasn't who we were. Wasn't what it meant to be a family. Those were just growing pains, him trying to find himself, me trying to find myself, and the friction that came along with that. So it was one moment we had together that I opened up to him. I just said, you know what? I don't care about anything that we fought about before. I don't care about any argument we ever had ever again. I just want to get to know you. I just want to understand you. And I was in college at the time. So my life was very, I was taking up a lot of my time with school. But for some reason, I just felt needing to have that deeper connection, deeper bond with my brother. And I opened up to him. And after that, we have been so tight. We have been so close. And it's just because of the communication we have, the boundaries we set between each other, me teaching him about boundaries and how I need to respect his space, he needs to respect my spacing. That lets us be more of who we are rather than being less and being tied to each other's problems in a way that's unhealthy. So boundaries, communication, unconditional love, trying to find that. It's not a matter of you do something for me and that's why I show you care. That's why I give you the time of day. It's not about that. It's like, no, you already have my respect. There's nothing you need from me. I mean, that's not that I need from you. You already earn my respect just by being who you are, and I want you to be more of who you are. So all
Mm,
these principles, I think, that's probably what I will share with my family moving forward, because I feel like they're just very important, very important.
yeah. Yeah. So as you talk about that, I hear a lot of emotional expression.
Hmm.
And it sounds like as you were growing up, a lot of that wasn't, you weren't able to do a lot of that at a younger age. But as you found out who Jonathan is, and then you come into Jonathan, you realize that that's a part of you, but it's an important piece of you. Can you speak to that?
Yes, I can. That yeah, that was something that I found is more of like a theme within all of my struggles that I faced, whether it was something artistic, masculinity, family. There was always been this disruption in communication because we can't talk about how we feel. I can't connect with somebody if I don't know how you feel. And that's something that's always been important to me. It was hard for me to try to do that at a younger age. I felt stifled. I felt like, nobody was listening. And even if they were listening, they weren't receiving what I was saying. So if you can't receive my energy, you can't hear what I'm saying, feel what I'm saying, it's hard for you to connect with me. It's hard for you to understand me. And I want to do the same for you. So with all of my, points in my journey, I always found that to be a common issue or a struggle for many people along with myself. So that's something that I want to, change in my own life by allowing people to be more of who they are, allowing people to speak freely, allowing people to just feel rather than being, self-critical or holding themselves back or feeling like what they're saying is wrong. Um, no emotion is wrong. No emotion is wrong. That's what I feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So as you talk about that, it brings up a question to me, and the question is, as you look at that, I hear a sense of pride. I hear a sense of accomplishment for you, just to find Jonathan, or find a John. I call you Jonathan.
Yeah.
John. To find John. Um, when you look back over your life and the accomplishments that you've made thus far, what are some of those that stick out to you that you're like, oh my gosh, I did that?
Mm, wow. Man, when I was younger, my first sense of accomplishment came from winning this award in my school. Uh, it was the first award ever handed out to any student in my school. That, when they said that, I was kind of shocked, and I was really, really young at the time. I didn't really understand what that meant, but it just made me feel like what my efforts, my impact, it meant something, at that time. It's called the Huff Award, and it was for academic achievement across all grade levels, across all years. And that kind of, made me feel like, wow, I actually can make an impact with something that that I care about, that I'm passionate about. And at the time, school was everything. Moving forward, dance, once I found dance, um, we I learned how to dance at home through YouTube. Let me make that clear. Before I ever took a class, uh, we had a school dance for the first time, and I was like, I can't dance. I don't know how to dance. What am I gonna do when I get there? I'm not gonna just stand around. So I started learning how to dance, hip hop dance. That was my whole thing. I was learning how to do that, and as I learned over time, I was like, you know what? I think I'm feeling pretty confident about this. I think this is something I can, show off to my friends. Show them what I've learned. So when I got to the school dance, everybody's there, and I'm like, okay, let me see. Like, oh, okay, I like this song. Let me start doing something. Let me start showing them what I got. And then the next thing I know is there's a whole circle of people around me watching me dance, and it was amazing because I came from doing that in my room in the privacy of my bedroom, just learning on my own, and then to see all these people around me supporting me, that was just something I never really experienced before that point. And then carrying onwards, I took a dance class, found more of myself there. I started competing, I started battling, I started performing. So I think my dance journey in and of itself is a very symbolic, thing for me as far as success is concerned. Because it was like I was pouring myself into it. I was pouring myself into it. So, I'm trying to find ways to come back to it. I haven't danced in a while, to be honest. But yeah, that's one thing that I really want to share more of too, is that side of me. Yeah.
All right. And so I hear you talk a lot about being happy as a baby, finding the
Mm-hmm.
happiness as a baby, not quite being that same way today. What led to some of that chipping away of some of that happiness?
Mm. My mom was the first one to point that out, to be honest. She was like, "Oh, you were so cheerful as a child. You were so this, so that." And I was just like, I mean, okay. I think over time, the struggles I faced, the people I try to connect with, and it didn't work. The communication didn't work. Something was wrong. Uh, Being bullied by some of my friends, that was a real pivotal moment in my life. Um, I left my one school to go to another school, made friends early on. We were all sitting at the cafeteria table talking it up. And then our grades come back and they see my grades and I see their grades. And as I mentioned, I poured myself into school. So I made sure my grades were on point. It wasn't the same for them. They grew up from a different background. They had different values. So what I learned in that moment was, just because I cared about something doesn't mean that that's going to resonate with someone else. It might even be offensive to them. It might even be threatening to them. So that moment where they switched everything, switched the emotion, it was very antagonizing, picking on how I looked, the way I dressed, and we wore uniforms, but shoes, whatever I would come to school in, all these things, all these other values that I was faced with. And it was kind of, I felt like they were superficial or shallow at the time, but over time, I'm like, probably that was all they knew. That's all they knew how to judge themselves on, was what they wore, how they acted, their behavior. That's what they used as a measuring stick for themselves to feel good about themselves. So over time, I learned how to empathize with people and to understand people more. But that cheerfulness, that innocence, definitely started to fade more and more over time as I started to feel other people's emotions and see how they value themselves. And it made me more so sad rather than angry. I will say it made me sad, to learn how some people view themselves, and how that may spill out into their relationships, may spill out into people that actually care about them, and they can't give that same love back, because of their own sense of worth and value. So I will say that for sure. Learning that along the way has changed me.
Yeah, and I know you bring this out about your friends, but I can't help but hear what you're saying and look at society as a whole in a lot of those different things that you said. When we look at a lot of things that are happening today, and not just black, white, or this group against that group, but just as humans as a whole, that something that you may like, this I may not like, something that you hold in treasure, I may not hold in treasure, something that I only know this because of the life that I've led, where you know this because of the life that you've led. I think that brings up some really, really heavy points for us to look at ourselves first, on why we think the way we think, why we act the way we act, why we judge the way we judge, and then look at others secondly, on why they think the way they think, why they act the way they act, why they judge the way they judge, and still be able to come to some type of agreement or still find commonality somewhere. What do you say to that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And then again, this is why I always look at my own experiences, as examples, really, because this is happening across the globe. This is happening in so many people's lives, so many different dynamics, that I will even never understand. I will never be able to experience, but I can only communicate. I can only try to find ways to understand. rather than point out the differences and judge based off of that. I just want to understand your side of things. I want to understand your story before I judge you, before I do anything, take any action. I want to understand who you are as a person. And I think that gets lost. That gets lost in many interactions, society, like across the globe, all over the world. It gets lost. Nobody really takes the time to want to understand somebody. It's my way or the highway. My story matters more. My pain hurts more. And it's like, you can't say that. You don't know how somebody feels about something. You don't know how that hurt them because you can't feel what they feel. So really, the fear, the lack of empathy, the lack of communication, that stirs up so many different problems on a large scale. But it starts at home. It starts with you. It starts with who you are. That's where it all starts. And that's why I use my story, my examples, as a way to understand and learn, from everybody else around me, rather than trying to dictate and judge before I, understand who you are. I can't do that. That's just how I feel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't help but to wonder, two questions that I have. The first one may come off a little sideways, but I'm thinking about the broader audience that we have with this question that I'm going to ask you. And I'm going to ask you about your hair.
Okay.
And is that an expression? What is it that made you say, I'm going to grow my hair out, I'm going to twist my hair? Is it religion? Is it expression? Is it culture? What is it? What is it?
That's a very good question, actually. Yeah. Wow. Very young age. Again, I saw this one kid with braids, man, and I thought that was just the coolest thing. I'll say it starts there. I was like, yo, I like that. Basketball players, that I looked up to at the time, Allen Iverson. I loved him. I was just like, yo, like, I want some braids. I want to grow my hair out too. I go to my mom. She's like, I don't think you need to do that. I was like, why not? What's up? Why can't I grow my hair out? And that's where this whole masculinity thing came in for me, because to put in, I don't really want to put everyone out there. I'm not trying to do that, but many people feel some type of way about men wearing certain hairstyles, right? And that is it's a sexuality thing. And for me, I didn't see it that way. I never saw it that way. So I always wanted to have long hair. But, growing up in the community that I did, growing up in the environment that I did at home, it was always this, corporate look that was respected. It gets you jobs. It'll get you into a good school, set you on the right path. And I was like, I mean, it's my hair. It's just hair. How's that gonna, set me apart from somebody? Don't you see my grades? Don't you see how smart I am? So that's where it all got a little confusing for me when I was younger. But over time, I was like, you know what? This is me. I am who I am. I get to decide my own destiny. I don't have to listen to what anybody tells me I should look like or what I should do. I was like, I've always wanted to have my hair just long, carefree, loose, just like how I lived my life as a kid. That's kind of how I see it. It makes it easier to take care of. Number one, I don't have to put too many products in it. So yeah, that's my story about my hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know that a lot of people wonder things like that, and so I thought that, hey, you're here, why not, let's have that conversation, which
Mm-hmm.
for other people could be religion, could be culture, background, could be a lot of things, and it just lends to, it doesn't mean one thing or the other. Just because this is what you know from this person, it may not mean the same for the next person. Again, the differences. So when I think about you and kind of your age and growing up with technology, because it's totally different than me. I didn't grow up with technology. I remember the first computers, and I remember the dial in and the green screen and the just all those things that you probably have no idea about at all.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Going to make a sandwich and going to run an errand and come back and, okay, the internet's ready. All right, I can get on now. Where now everything is instant. So I'm wondering about growing up in an instant age. I've talked to older people, and I've had several men on the show from a father type, looking at the youngsters now type thing, of the opportunities, the dangers, the just good, bad, and ugly
Mhm.
of technology and internet and things of that nature. And when we talk about friendships, when we talk about communication, when we talk about just life in general, give us some insight from your point of view on
Mhm.
how technology is for you, good, bad, ugly.
Got you. Yeah, it is a wild thing. I will say it is incredible. Um, I was, man, it was so long ago that I remember dial up, right? Like you brought up, old tech. I remember having a flip phone, right, at a young age. I remember all that, and then seeing it progress so quickly over time to the point where we're having social media. I remember MySpace. I was my school. We always like try to find ways to like be up on the latest technology, latest software, latest website. So MySpace came out. There was a little thing called LimeWire, where we were downloading music for free. Don't come get me, but yeah, that's how we were as kids. We were always up on the latest tech. Over time, I think it advanced so quickly to a point that we couldn't understand it anymore, and we couldn't use it in a way that only benefits us like a tool, right? Because it is a tool. That's what technology is. That's what the internet has been this entire time. But I think since it advanced so quickly, we weren't able to adapt quick enough to how quick everything is, how instant everything can be. So I on my blog where I write about productivity, motivation, I've written several articles about having to detox from social media, for example, because I just found it to be taking up so much of my time. I'm so connected. I'm too connected to the world and what's going on at every moment. Somebody passed away, somebody got an award, somebody did this, somebody did that, politics, music, it's too much. It's information overload. So I think for us to understand the technology that we're using today, we have to take our time with it. We have to be patient with it. Even though it's advancing so fast, right? It's kind of counterintuitive, but we can't just get so caught up in what's going on at every minute and every second, because that takes away our life. That takes away our time for us to connect with ourselves as individuals. So without getting too wrapped up in social media, um, I've been able to learn how to use it as a tool better, to communicate, to share things, to showcase things, rather than it taking up my time and it controlling me. I don't want to be wrapped up in my phone all day. So I set limits, I set boundaries on my usage of social media, for example. Um, but that's something that I had to learn over time. That wasn't something I could just, figure out at a drop of a dime. It's easier to be caught up in the loop of information that technology provides us today. So I would say just be patient, slow down a bit.
From a working standpoint, have you used technology to connect with people around the world to work at all?
I have, I have. That was new to me entirely. I was taken aback by that. Um, the way we send information, right, has made it so much easier, especially now during these times. Being able to have a meeting such as this, that whenever we feel like it, whenever it's most comfortable to us, rather than having to find a location, find a place, meet up, have all the tools set up there, we have it all at home. So we can just do this whenever we feel like it. But I think that gives us more power and control over what we're doing and what we want to accomplish rather than taking it away. And I think we all understand that more so now, not being able to work in a space where we see each other physically, now some more so digitally, and yeah, being able to use that for work has been insane. It's been crazy. As a photographer, I'm able to send my photos off to a retoucher. I'm able to send them off to graphic designers, videographers whoever that needs my work at that time, I'm able to just send it off, and they're able to create what they need, you know, for their work, for their jobs, and I'm able to do the same in an instant. So yeah, it's awesome. It's incredible.
Mhm. So what type of, now you're a photographer now. What type of photographer are you, and kind of what kind of projects have you worked on that you've had some good time?
Yeah. So I started out as a wedding photographer, actually. I started out doing weddings. Before that, I was just a hobbyist, taking pictures with my friends. You know, we would just get dressed up in nice clothes, go downtown, and, you know, just take pictures of each other. But over time, a friend of a friend contacted me and was like, "Hey, my cousin's having a wedding." I was like, "Cool." So I rallied my friends up and said, "Hey guys, let's do this job. We can do this. We can handle this." And we shot the entire wedding from start to finish. After that, though, I started to feel the weight, feel the pressure of wedding photography. It was a little much for me to handle, and I felt that more so when I did it by myself for the first time. I realized what it demanded from me, and it wasn't really too creative in the sense of, like, you know, telling a story, creating a concept. You know, it was more so documentation. So breaking away from that, I started to experiment with fashion photography. I learned more about that online, how to be one, what it means, you know, how do you photograph clothing and fashion and a model? How do you photograph that? So that's really where I started to find my voice as a photographer. Now, of course, I needed to pay the bills. So I went back to doing events here and there. And one event that I did that was awesome was for some good friends of mine over at Dag Type Films in Raleigh for their movie, Oh Crappy Day. They hired me as a behind the scenes photographer. And that job, oh man, that it put me to the test for sure. Waking up at early hours, driving all the way to Raleigh, and, you know, staying there all day, being on the clock like that. Yeah, that was my first long-term gig as a photographer, and that really, you know, made me feel more connected with my camera. You know, for example, it made me feel more connected with the tools that I use, my expertise, my knowledge. It really brought all that out of me. But as far as artistic concerns for me, it was fashion photography. I found that earlier on, before that moment. But the professionalism that I learned from doing that job, for being a behind the scenes photographer, that I carry on with me now as I, you know, move forward in my career as a photographer. So yeah.
Yeah. So what does your career as a photographer entail as you move forward?
Moving forward, more so collaborations with companies, with fashion companies. That's my goal. That's my target, because, you know, my skill set, my passion is with fashion editorial photography, telling stories, showing a concept, you know, creating something artistic in that way. That's where I flourish as a photographer. So business wise, as a career, I want to expand that to different companies or clothing companies, or, you know, beauty brands, even magazines, anybody that resonates with what I create. That's who I want to collaborate with moving forward. That's my career. That's what I see. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when we talk about leadership, what to you, what's the definition of a leader, and where do you look for leadership, mentorship, and even having mentees and being a mentor yourself?
Mm-hmm. Leadership. I saw one great graphic that was illustrated that shows what a leader should be. There was one photo at the top that had, you know, people, they had a rope tied to a boulder, you know, and they were pulling it up this mountain, right? And at the top, beyond the boulder, beyond the work that was being shown, was somebody pointing, right? And then that was titled Boss. And at the bottom, it showed those same people working, pulling that boulder up that mountain, with somebody in the front pointing, leading, pulling, along with everybody else that's putting in the same amount of effort. That's a leader. That's what I see a leader as. It was a great illustration of what that means, because it's not just about, you know, your vision or what you think is best, right? Everyone has a vision. Everyone has some creativity, some desire, that they want to be fulfilled in some way. But if you're not willing to put forth the effort as well, if you're not willing to put the blood, sweat, and tears in as well as everyone else who's supporting you, you're not really leading anything. Mm-hmm. You're just, just trying to dictate what needs to happen, dictate who needs to do what. And that doesn't really show leadership to me. As a dancer, for example, I was offered many opportunities to teach dance classes, across North Carolina. I've taught in Cary, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. I've taught in different cities in my area, but every single time I'm probably sweating more than anybody else in the room. Like, I'm going full force with my creativity, with what I have to offer, and I'm very attentive, right? And I make sure I address people's needs, and I let people ask questions. I ask them questions, and that's how you connect with people, and that's how you show leadership. You lead the charge by listening, by understanding, right? All these same things I keep bringing up. That is what's most important. It's not just telling somebody what to do or where to go. It's helping them get there along the way. That's what a leader is to me.
Wow. So have you had any mentors along the way?
Oh yeah. I found some great mentors along the way. People who really challenged me beyond, whatever I believed I was capable of. And, I have recent examples, right? I had Dag Type Films, for example, for their movie. That was one relationship that I feel grew into something much deeper, beyond just client freelancer. It was something much deeper than that. They started sharing themselves with me. They started sharing what they're passionate about, Hollywood films from the 50s and 60s, stuff like that. I started to learn more about that, the golden age of Hollywood. And, at the time when they presented what they wanted me to do with them, we wanted to shoot Hollywood headshots. We wanted to make mock Hollywood headshots. I was like, that's not what I can do. I can't do that. But then over time, talking with them, Steve and Lance, talking with them, they got me to the point where I was just like, you know what? I think I can take on this challenge. I think I can do this. So they gave me the chance to step up to the plate and to swing. And apparently I knocked it out of the park. So, but that's up to them. That's up to them to decide. But it was great. It was awesome. Those two guys, for now, like, for sure, they are some of the best mentors I've ever had. I've had mentors in my past, dance teachers, dance coaches. Bernadine Fields, she was my lead dance coach in high school, and she gave me so many different opportunities to teach, to compete for championships, stuff that I didn't feel like I was ready for at the time either. But leaning in, following my passion, trusting myself, trusting my capabilities, is what taught me that. And them giving me that chance taught me that. And being put in those positions allowed me to be a mentor, allowed me to be a teacher. So I was able to go back to my high school and lead the dance class, lead the dance team at the time while I was in college. I did that on the side. I did that as an extracurricular. But, I was able to foster relationships with them. I was able to connect with them and lead them as well. So me being given those opportunities allowed me to learn how to be a leader. Me being led allowed me to lead. That's what I feel. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and I know you've got years and years to go before that happens, but when it's all said and done, what's your mark on the world? What's your legacy?
Ooh, that's a big question. I really have no idea. I really can't pinpoint exactly. I can't say that in a sentence. I can't say that in a word. I'm a very complex individual, and that's something that was hard for me to accept early on. I felt like I had to just be good at one thing. I feel like I need to master one skill. I don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. That was always ringing in the back of my mind. But like I've mentioned, I was like, as a kid, I was so open. I was so curious. I was always learning more, reading books. Nobody read books around me. I was always open to new things that nobody else knew about. So it's hard for me to say now what my one legacy is or what that looks like in a defining statement. I think I have yet to discover what that means, but I feel the way I lead my life, the way I lead by example, if anything, that could be my legacy.
Okay, that worked. I'll take it. Hey, I totally will take it. I will definitely take it. I have enjoyed this time and this conversation with you. I thank you so much for sharing your heart. I thank you for so much for letting us in to who John Okafo is. And I know that there's so much more to come from you. I want to give you the chance to just take a moment and anything that you may want to say that's left on your heart. I don't know if you have anything left, but left on your heart that you want society to know that you've never been able to say or be heard on, or community or individual. You talk to whoever you want to talk to, say whatever you want to say. I want to give you this time now. But while you're thinking about that really quick, I've got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Quick rapid fire questions that are going to seem like left field. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Favorite movie?
Oh, man. Inception.
Inception. Why?
Ooh, that movie, I would say it kind of rocked my world. I was already interested in things like The Matrix. I was already interested in movies like that, sci-fi, stuff like that, Star Wars. But Inception, that movie made me think. That movie made me think a little bit about reality, about the world around us, about, how we perceive things, right? A lot of what I talk about, it really made me think, through one person's eyes, this could all be a dream. This could all be unreal. This could all be not a matter of fact. But for somebody else, that's truth. That's their world. That's their reality. So that movie made me think. It did. I like that movie a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite food?
That's hard. Oh, that's hard. You know what? I'm working on my steak. I'm working on cooking steak. Okay. I don't know if any vegan. I'm sorry, but I've been learning how to cook a steak, and yeah, I think I like me some steak. I like me some broccoli and some sweet potato. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of my meal. That's kind of my dish. That's my go-to. Yeah, that's me.
Hey, just let me know when you decide to cook that. Just let me know. We'll figure out a way to get it here.
Yes.
A favorite ice cream?
Ooh, it's a toss-up. I like cookies. So when I found out about cookies and cream, it was a wrap. Cookies and cream. Mm-hmm.
Cookies and cream. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite song?
That's hard. That's hard. Do I have one? Can I do an artist instead?
Sure. Let's go for it.
I like Drake. Drake is cool. I like Drake.
Okay. Drake. Favorite place to visit?
LA. Los Angeles.
What is it about LA?
Ooh, the hustle and bustle. There's always something to do. Not so much anymore, but yeah, it was when I went there. Yeah, that was my place. I felt right at home. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, last one. You ready? Favorite hobby?
Oh man. As a hobby, dance. Yes, for sure. That is my first love. That's what I call dance. My first passion, my first love. That's dance. Yeah, dancing. It puts my mind at ease, puts my soul at ease. Whenever I feel nervous, I just dance it out. Play some music, dance it out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Dance. Any particular genre of music?
Hip hop speaks to my soul. Hip hop does. Yeah, I like R&B too though. I like soul.
Yeah.
I like
What is
jazz,
it
but
about hip hop?
man, the energy, you know,
Mm.
the excitement that it brings out. The I grew up going to a lot of different parties. That was how I was brought up. Like my friends, I was very introverted, very at home. I'm a homebody. But my friends were like, "Hey John, where you at?" I'm like, "I'm at home." He's like, "Okay, come on, we're going to this party." I'm like, "Come on, man." And I'm putting my shoes on. I'm getting ready. I'm getting dressed. Like, I don't want to go. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let me go. So yeah, that's always been a part of me, and the way I dance, it coincides with that. That's the energy that I bring. That's the energy that I like. It could be chill, it could be loud, it could be exciting. That's me. I have a wide range, wide spectrum. So yeah, I like hip hop for that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, thank you so much. I want to give you this time. Thank you for doing my quick fire. And I always let the viewers know, as well as speaker after I do the quick fire, because you didn't know I was going to ask those questions. It's a place of connection. I believe that if we connect at the human level first, we can find commonalities, and we can then grow from there. It's so easy just to look with our eyes on the outside and find differences really quick, which automatically separates us. And we have more alike than we have different, because we're all humans. We all live on earth, and we all care and love and have blood running through our veins. So that's the reason for the quick fire, just to get a little bit more insight on and find other places of connection that we may or may not know are there. At this time, I want to turn it over to you, give you a chance to just whatever your lasting words are that you want to leave with us on the Voices of a Black Man. The floor is yours, John.
Um, Thank you. I want to tell you thank you so much, Kina, for this platform. Thank you for this opportunity. We've had some communication with each other. We've had conversations about, my perspective as a creative, as a business person, as a professional, and I alluded to, the way I view myself, and sometimes I feel like I don't fit in. Sometimes I feel like I'm not worthy of being given these opportunities, and I can't believe that when there are people who trust in me, and people who believe in me, and people who are willing to give me those opportunities, because they believe in me. So this moment, being able to talk with you, it's been a blessing. It's been a big step for me, personally, because I've always, had this problem with expressing myself, communicating. I've always felt stifled. So being able to be on this platform and just speak openly and freely, is beautiful. It's beautiful. I can't thank you enough. This is awesome. So thank you. Yeah.
You are absolutely welcome, John. You said something to me when we were scheduling you to be a part of this series. And you said, as a Black man, I go out to give love and to care for people and to just do whatever my part is. But in return, I get hate and oppression and a lot of things that I have no idea why those things are even coming towards me. And that sat deep with me. That sat deep with me because I think it's not just you. I think that speaks to why the Voices of a Black Man was created, so that we can hear Black men speak for themselves and tell their stories and see that they are human, they are men, they are Black, but none of those things erases the other thing that they
Yeah.
are at the
Yeah.
end of the day. So I thank you so much, and so honored and humbled that you allowed me to ask you a whole bunch of crazy questions that you didn't even know were coming. And you opened your heart to us, told us your story through your lens. Thank you so much for that.
Very well.
To our viewers, I say thank you so much for watching another session of The Voices of a Black Man. Whether you're listening to this live or you're listening to this on a replay, we thank you so much for being here. We thank you so much for taking time to listen to what a Black man has to say, sharing his heart, sharing who he is, and just being real about who he is. Now, you've listened and you've heard. The next part is up to you. You know, we all have biases in our lives. So hopefully you've listened and maybe you found something that you didn't quite know, quite understand, but it hit you somewhere inside yourself. The next action is up to you. What do you do about it? We're all responsible for ourselves first. To heal the world, to move forward, we first have to look at the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror. Thank you. My name is CK James. This has been the Voices of a Black Man, and I hope you tune in tomorrow as we interview another Black man and listen to his stories through his lens. Have a wonderful day.